when a poor black teenager, Malik Johnson, risks his life to save a powerful billionaire, Charles Whitmore, from a burning car, he expects nothing but gratitude. Instead, he is erased from the story, mocked and vilified by the same man whose life he saved. From media manipulation and systemic racism to betrayal by those closest to him, Malik struggles to hold on to the truth while the world brands him a liar. But fueled by resilience, his mother's faith, his best friend's loyalty, and eventually the courage of Whitmore's daughter Sophia, who exposes her father, Malik turns his silence into resistance. What begins as one boy's fight for recognition becomes a national reckoning against lies, power, and prejudice. And in the end, as Whitmore's empire crumbles under the weight of truth, Malik rises as a voice of justice that cannot be erased, a story of fire, betrayal, resistance, and poetic justice that will leave you shaken. Flames licked at the twisted steel of the luxury car, painting the dark Bronx street in shades of orange and black. Tires hissed, glass crackled, and a crowd gathered, but no one moved. Somebody call 911. A woman screamed. Malik Johnson was already moving, 16 years old, lanky but strong. From hauling crates at the corner grocery, he sprinted across the street. His chest heaved, but his mind was calm. A man was trapped inside. Yo, Malik, don't. His friend Jamal shouted. That thing's about to blow. Malik ignored him. He pulled at the door handle, jammed. Smoke clawed at his lung, but he slammed his shoulder into the door again and again until it wrenched open. Inside, an older white man groaned, slumped over the wheel. Blood trickled down his forehead. Malik grabbed him. Sir, we gotta move, Malik shouted. The man's eyes flickered open. Don't touch me. Another cough. His voice was gravel, but Malik didn't hesitate. He wrapped his arms around him, dragging the heavy frame out just as flames roared inside the cabin. The crowd erupted. Phones lifted, recording. The billionaire was on the ground, coughing, alive. Holy hell, someone muttered. That's Charles Whitmore. Malik staggered back, coughing hard. Sweat and smoke stung his eyes. For a heartbeat, he thought maybe the man would thank him. Instead, Charles pulled himself upright, clutching his torn designer jacket, his pale eyes fixed on Malik. You. His voice was sharp, cutting through the crowd. You trying to rob me? Gasps rippled. Malik froze. What? He asked, voice trembling. You think I don't know your kind? Charles spat, shoving Malik's hands away. Get back before I have you arrested. The crowd went silent. Phones kept recording, but no one stepped forward. Malik's chest heaved, fury and hurt boiling at once. I just pulled you out of a burning car, he said, his voice breaking. Charles sneered, brushing ash off his sleeve. And what? You want a medal? You people always want something. You people. Malik's voice cut through the night. The silence deepened, heavy as chains. Sirens wailed in the distance. Charles straightened his collar, as if preparing for cameras. He turned to the crowd instead of Malik. I'm fine. Just fine. Thank you for your concern. I'll take it from here. Malik stood there, smoke rising behind him, fists clenched. He had just saved the man's life, and in return, he'd been reduced to a stereotype, a threat. The ambulance lights flared, painting everything red and blue. Malik's mother's voice echoed in his head. The world won't see you for who you are, son. You'll have to make them. He didn't move as EMTs rushed in, as cameras began to flash, as Charles Whitmore, alive because of him, walked away without even a glance back. And in that moment, Malik knew this was not the end of the story. It was the beginning. The morning after the accident, Malik woke to the buzz of his cracked phone. Notifications stacked on the screen. News alerts, social media clips, neighborhood group chats exploding with chatter. Malik, baby, turn on the TV. Angela called from the kitchen. He shuffled out, still smelling faintly of smoke from last night. The TV blared with polished anchors and glossy footage. Helicopters circled above footage of the wreck, cutting to sound bites from Charles Whitmore's spokesperson. Mr. Whitmore survived a harrowing ordeal last night. His strength and composure in the face of danger show why he's a pillar of American resilience. Angela folded her arms tight across her chest. Do you hear that? Malik sank into the couch. They make it sound like he dragged himself out. The anchor continued, smiling with corporate poise, thanks to swift emergency response. Mr. Whitmore is resting comfortably in his estate this morning. He's expected to make a statement later today. Not one mention of a boy pulling him from fire. Not one frame of Malik's sweat-streaked face. Angela's jaw tightened. They cut you out, erased you. Malik said nothing. He was too tired, too raw. The memory of Charles's sneer still burned in his chest. The phone buzzed again. A text from Jamal. Bro, they acting like you wasn't even there. That's messed up. Angela turned off the TV. We're not letting them do this. People saw. Someone recorded. Yeah, but Malik's voice trailed. He imagined the headlines. Black teen claims he saved billionaire. Would anyone believe it? Or would they spin him into a liar, a thug craving attention? Angela crouched in front of him, her hand warm on his knee. You did something no one else had the courage to do. That matters. You matter. Later that afternoon, reporters swarmed outside the hospital, where Charles gave a short press statement. Malik and Angela watched on a neighbor's TV. Charles stood tall in a tailored suit, despite the fresh scar on his forehead. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. I thank God for giving me the strength to survive. Life is precious, and I'll continue using mine to create jobs, opportunities, and a better America. Jobs for who? Angela muttered. A reporter asked. Sir, eyewitnesses say a young man helped pull you out. Can you comment? Charles's lips tightened. A beat of silence. Then he smiled. In chaos, people always exaggerate. I pulled myself out before the flames spread. That's the truth. Malik flinched. Angela slammed her palm against the counter. Lying. Snake, she hissed. Another reporter pressed. So no one else was involved. Charles shook his head, voice calm and commanding. No. I owe my survival to God and to my own determination. End of story. End of story. The clip replayed on loop all evening. Pundits praised his grit and unyielding spirit. One anchor even called him a living example of bootstrap perseverance. At school the next day, Malik felt eyes burning into his back. Whispers floated down the hall. That's the kid from the video. Nah, that's not him. He just wants clout. My uncle said billionaires don't need saving. He lying. Jamal shoved through the crowd to meet him at his locker. Man, you hearin' this? They trying to paint you out like some wannabe hero. This is crazy. Malik slammed his locker shut. What am I supposed to do? Shout it from the rooftops. Nobody's listening. Then, make him listen. Jamal's eyes burned. You pulled that man out with your bare hands, and he's spittin' on you like you don't exist. Nah, bro. We can't let that slide. Angela waited outside after school. Her face was set, determined. Malik, tonight we're going down to Channel 8. I know someone on the inside. Maybe they'll let you tell your side. Malik stared at the ground. And what if Charles Whitmore crushes us? He's got money, lawyers, the media. We got nothing. Angela lifted his chin. We have the truth. And the truth can't stay buried forever. That evening, mother and son went to the local station. The lobby smelled like stale coffee and disinfectant. A receptionist frowned as Angela explained. My son saved Mr. Whitmore's life. We'd like to share. The receptionist interrupted. Ma'am, our coverage is aligned with official statements. We can't broadcast unverified claims. Angela's nostrils flared. Unverified. Half the block saw it. I'm sorry. The woman turned back to her computer. Malik tugged at his mother's sleeve. Let's just go, Angela whispered as they walked back to the cold night air. They don't want the truth. They want the story that sells. Back in their apartment, Malik scrolled through social media. Edited clips showed Charles stepping out of the car with the flames in the background, as if he had walked away himself. Comment sections overflowed with praise. One comment stood out. Billionaires don't need saving. Stop making up stories about some kid. Malik tossed the phone aside. His chest ached, a heavy knot of rage and despair. Angela stood by the window, looking at the city lights. They're trying to erase you, but the thing about erasing, it always leaves a mark. They can't hide you forever. Malik didn't answer. He lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling. The billionaire had stolen not just his recognition, but his dignity, and deep inside, something in Malik began to crack. This was no longer about gratitude. This was about truth. 3 days after the accident, Malik was still avoiding the news. Every headline, every broadcast felt like salt rubbed into a wound. So when a sleek black sedan pulled up outside his apartment building, Malik thought it was a mistake. Men in suits stepped out, polished shoes shining against the cracked sidewalk. His neighbors peeked through curtains as the men approached. One of them, tall, bald, with an earpiece, spoke crisply. Malik Johnson. Malik hesitated. Yeah, you're invited to Mr. Whitmore's estate this evening. A gesture of appreciation. Angela narrowed her eyes from the doorway. Appreciation for erasing my son from the story. The man didn't flinch. Transportation will be provided. Dress appropriately. He handed Malik a thick envelope embossed with gold lettering. Inside, a formal invitation. Dinner, in honor of community heroism. Malik frowned. Heroism. That word hadn't crossed Whitmore's lips once. Angela pulled him back inside as the car drove off. It's a stunt. He wants to use you. I know, Malik said softly, but maybe if I go, he'll tell the truth. Maybe this time will be different. Angela's eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. Be careful, baby. He's not inviting you. He's inviting the idea of you. And those aren't the same. That night, Malik rode in silence as the sedan wound its way into Westchester, past iron gates and manicured lawns. The Whitmore estate loomed ahead, massive columns lit by golden floodlights, fountains spraying in choreographed arcs. Malik tugged at his borrowed blazer. He felt small against the marble steps, the butler's cold smile, the chandeliers dripping with crystal. Inside, voices buzzed like bees, men in tailored suits, women in gowns shimmering like liquid gold. Laughter echoed under vaulted ceilings, and then, the young man himself. Charles Whitmore descended the grand staircase, glass of wine in hand, smile wide for the cameras. Photographers clicked rapidly. Charles clapped Malik on the shoulder as though they were old friends. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the boy from the Bronx with courage in his heart. The crowd clapped politely. Malik forced a nod. Charles leaned close, whispering through his grin, smile for the cameras. Boy, that's all you're here for. Malik's stomach twisted. As the evening unfolded, Malik found himself paraded like an accessory. Charles introduced him as one of the good ones, prompting chuckles from some guests and awkward silence from others. At the dinner table, Malik sat at the far end, dwarfed by golden candelabras. A businessman smirked across the table. So, Malik, is it true, you people grow up learning to run fast? The table laughed. Another woman leaned in, voice syrupy sweet. Do you even eat food like this back home? Heat rushed to Malik's face. He wanted to disappear. Charles lifted his glass. This young man is proof that with the right guidance, even kids from the toughest neighborhoods can be civilized. Cameras flashed. The guests applauded. Malik's fork clattered against his plate. I didn't come here to be your showpiece, he said, voice low but steady. A hush fell. Charles tilted his head, still smiling for the press. And yet, here you are. The guests laughed again, some nervously, some cruelly. Later, Malik slipped away from the dining hall, finding himself in a quiet corridor lined with oil paintings of Whitmore ancestors. Their pale faces stared down, stern and disapproving. He exhaled sharply, fighting the sting in his eyes. A soft voice broke the silence. You don't belong here, and neither do they. Malik turned. A young woman stood in the shadows, elegant dress, but eyes restless. I'm Sophia, she said, his daughter. Malik blinked. And you're telling me that at your own house? Her lips curved faintly. My father, he thinks he owns everyone, even you, especially you. Malik swallowed hard. I saved his life, and he still treats me like trash. Sophia looked away. That's who he is. Before Malik could answer, the click of heels echoed down the hall. A servant appeared. Mr. Whitmore requests your presence in the lounge. Immediately, Malik straightened, jaw tight. Whatever came next, he would not bow his head again. The lounge smelled of leather and expensive cigars. A fire crackled in the stone hearth, though the air outside was mild. Malik stood near the doorway, feeling the weight of velvet curtains and heavy silence pressing down. Charles Whitmore swirled, a glass of brandy in his hand, his back turned to Malik. Without cameras, his smile was gone. Sit, he ordered. Malik remained standing. I'll stand. Charles chuckled. Suit yourself. He turned, eyes cold now, stripped of their charm. You've caused me quite a headache, you know. Malik frowned. Me, yes, you. A poor boy pulling me from a car. It doesn't fit the narrative. People want to see strength, resilience, not dependency. And certainly not. He gestured vaguely at Malik. You. The words hit like blows. Malik clenched his fists. I saved your life, and I acknowledged you. Charles's smirk returned. You're here, aren't you? Eating my food, basking in my home. That's more than most of your kind ever get. Malik's voice sharpened. My kind. Charles stepped closer, brandy sloshing slightly. Don't play dumb. You're from the Bronx. No father. Public housing, I presume. Statistically, you were more likely to carjack me than save me. That's just fact. Malik's chest rose and fell in ragged breaths. You don't know me. I know exactly who you are. Charles's tone was mocking, almost amused. You're a lucky boy who stumbled into 15 minutes of relevance. And if you're smart, you'll keep quiet and let me decide how your story ends. Malik's voice trembled, but it carried steel. You can twist the cameras, but you can't twist the truth. Charles laughed loudly, almost theatrically. Truth. Truth is whatever the man with the microphone says it is, and I own the microphones, unseen. In the corner of the room, Sophia had slipped in quietly. She stood half-hidden, her phone angled discreetly, recording. Her heart pounded, but her hands stayed steady. Malik didn't see her. He only saw Whitmore's sneer. You don't scare me, Malik said finally. You think, because you have money, you can erase people, but you can't erase me. Charles's smile faltered for just a second. Then he leaned in, voice low. Watch me. Malik's throat burned. His hands shook with rage, but he refused to give Whitmore the satisfaction of tears. I saved your life, Malik whispered, and you're still trying to kill mine. For a moment, even Whitmore was silent. Then he tossed back the rest of his brandy and smirked. You'll thank me one day. I'm teaching you reality. Malik turned toward the door. No, you're teaching me who the enemy really is. He walked out without looking back. Sophia lingered after Malik left, stepping into the firelight. You enjoy breaking people, don't you? She asked softly. Charles glanced at her, unimpressed. Don't eavesdrop, Sophia. It's unladylike. Her grip tightened on the phone in her hand. If people heard how you talk when the cameras are gone, Charles's head snapped toward, her eyes blazing. You wouldn't dare. Sophia held his gaze, her voice quiet but sharp. Wouldn't I? For the first time, a flicker of unease crossed his face. Outside, Malik found the night air biting, even under Golden Estate lights. He shoved his hands into his blazer pockets, shoulders stiff. A chauffeur waited by the car. Ready to go, sir. Malik nodded, sliding into the back seat. His reflection in the tinted glass stared back at him, tired, angry, but unbroken. The car rolled down the long driveway, past iron gates that clanged shut behind him. He thought of his mother, of Jamal, of the whispers at school. He thought of Whitmore's voice, venomous and certain. And he thought of his own, trembling but defiant. You can't erase me. The words replayed in his mind like a vow. Back inside the mansion, Charles poured another drink. The fire popped, sparks flying upward. Sophia slipped her phone into her clutch, her pulse still racing. She said nothing, but her mind screamed, the world has to see this. In that room, surrounded by wealth and silence, a war had begun, one that would not end with brandy or microphones, it would end with truth. The Bronx buzzed with rumors. Malik's trip to Whitmore's mansion had spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. Some kids whispered that he'd sold out, others swore he'd been humiliated. Malik said nothing. At the corner store, an older man clapped him on the shoulder. Boy, you had a chance to show the world, and you just let him walk all over you. Malik froze. I didn't, but the man was already shaking his head. Heroes don't stay quiet, son. Malik walked out with his jaw tight, shame burning, like acid in his stomach. That evening, Angela found him sitting on the fire escape, knees pulled up, staring at the lights of the city. You're not eating, she said gently, holding out a plate. Malik didn't look at her. What's the point, Ma? Everyone thinks I'm lying, and the ones who don't think that, think I'm weak. Angela set the plate down beside him, and touched his shoulder. Baby, the point is, you're still here, breathing, fighting, that's what matters. Malik's voice cracked. I thought saving a life meant something. But it doesn't. Not when the man you saved owns the story. Angela's eyes glistened, but her tone was steady. You think our people ever waited for men like Whitmore to hand them credit? No. We carved truth out of silence, and you will, too. Malik buried his face in his arms. I don't know if I'm strong enough. Angela's hand lingered on his back. Strength isn't about feeling brave, Malik. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared. The next day, Malik's phone buzzed. A notification, Charles Whitmore to deliver keynote speech on responsibility and resilience. Jamal stormed into Malik's room, minutes later, eyes blazing. You seen this? He's about to get on stage and talk about personal responsibility, like he didn't just spit in your face. Nah, bro, we gotta do something. Malik shook his head. What can we do? He's got the money, the cameras, the world listening. I'm just a kid. Jamal leaned in. You ain't just a kid. You're the kid who dragged him out of a fire. You're the kid who's got the truth that makes you dangerous to him. That's why he's erasing you. Malik met Jamal's eyes. For the first time, he saw it not just erasure, but fear. That evening, Malik and Angela sat in their cramped living room, watching Whitmore's speech broadcast live from a glittering hotel ballroom. Charles stood behind a podium, spotlights gleaming off his silver hair. His voice carried the polished rhythm of power. Too often, people blame the system for their failures. But I am living proof that with hard work, anyone can succeed. We don't need handouts. We need responsibility, discipline, integrity. Applause thundered. Angela scoffed at the screen. Integrity. From him, Charles continued, his tone swelling with righteous indignation. We cannot let entitlement weaken our society. We must teach the next generation that nothing is owed to them. Malik's hands curled into fists. His chest ached as if the words were knives aimed at him personally. When I crawled from that wreckage, Charles declared, I proved that survival belongs to the strong. Malik shot up from the couch. He's lying to millions of people, Ma, millions, and they're clapping for him. Angela looked at her son, his trembling fists, his burning eyes, and knew something inside him had snapped. 2 nights later, Malik's phone buzzed with an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but the message stopped him cold. We need to talk. I have something that can help you. Sophia. He stared at the screen, heart racing. They met quietly at a cafe far from the estate. Sophia in a hoodie and sunglasses, Malik wary but desperate. She slid into the booth. I recorded him, the way he talked to you that night. The slurs, the arrogance, it's all here. She tapped her phone. Malik's breath caught. Why are you telling me this? Because I can't watch him get away with it anymore. Her voice shook. But I'm scared. He's my father. If I go public, he'll destroy me. And maybe you, too. Malik's jaw tightened. So you want me to do it for you? Sophia looked down. I don't know what I want. I just know the truth can't stay hidden. Malik leaned back, conflicted. Part of him wanted to grab the phone, upload the recording, burn Charles's empire to the ground. Another part whispered of danger, of retaliation, of what the world would call him once again, a liar, a thug, a boy from the Bronx reaching above his station. Sophia whispered, if you want this, it's yours. But you have to be ready. Once it's out, there's no going back. Malik's fingers hovered inches from her phone. He pulled back. Not yet. Sophia's eyes widened. Why not? Because he'll crush me if I stand alone. I need my community behind me. I need to be ready. Sophia nodded slowly. Then, I'll wait. But not forever. That night Malik walked home under buzzing streetlights, his thoughts spinning. Whitmore's speech replayed in his mind. The man's smug certainty. The crowd's cheers. The silence of truth buried beneath applause. Angela's words echoed too. Strength isn't about feeling brave. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared. Malik clenched his fists in the cool night air. The boy who had once dragged a billionaire from fire was being pushed toward another blaze, one made of lies, money, and power. And, this time, he wasn't sure if he'd make it out unburned. But one thing was certain. The fight had found him. Sophia Whitmore had never felt so small inside her own home. The mansion's walls seemed to press in, portraits of dead ancestors glaring down at her as though they could sense treason in her blood. Her phone, hidden deep in her dresser drawer, pulsed with the weight of its recording. She'd played it back 3 times, hearing her father's voice spit out cruelty with perfect clarity. Truth is whatever the man with the microphone says it is. And I own the microphones. Every time she heard it, her stomach twisted. She wanted to give it to Malik. She wanted the world to hear it. But fear wrapped around her throat like barbed wire. Charles discovered her hesitation before she could decide. He strode into her room, one evening without knocking, his presence filling the space like smoke. You've been distracted. Sophia, nervous, almost guilty, she stiffened. I'm fine. His smile was slow, dangerous. You forget who raised you. I know when you're hiding something. Sophia swallowed hard. I'm not. Charles cut her off, voice dropping to a hiss. If you ever betray me, if you ever dare side with that boy, you'll have nothing. No trust fund, no protection. Nothing. Her chest tightened. Maybe I don't want your protection. Charles's eyes flared. He stepped closer, towering. You're mine, Sophia. Don't you ever forget it. He slammed the door behind him. Sophia pressed her hands to her face, trembling. Across town, Malik was pacing his bedroom when her message came. I can't do it. Not yet. Jamal, sitting cross-legged on the bed, groaned. What you mean, she can't do it? She got the proof, don't she? Malik read the message again, jaw tightening. She's scared. He's her father. Jamal threw his hands up. And you're the one paying the price. While she hides, Whitmore's making you out to be some wannabe hero. Look at this. He shoved his phone toward Malik. A news segment. Blared sources close to the Whitmore family say a Bronx teen has been spreading exaggerated claims about rescuing the billionaire. Officials confirm there's no evidence to support his story. Malik's chest hollowed. His voice cracked. They're calling me a liar. Not just a liar, Jamal said bitterly. Look at the comments. Malik read them in silence. Another thug looking for a payout. Where was he really that night? Looting. These kids always want attention. His throat closed. He tossed the phone onto the bed, shaking his head. Angela entered then, holding a basket of laundry. She caught the storm on his face and set it down. What happened? Malik barely got the words out. He's winning, Ma. He's turning the world against me. Angela stepped forward, cupping his face. Baby, listen to me. Truth don't need permission to exist. It just needs courage to stand. But if Sophia won't stand with me, Malik's voice broke. Then I'm standing alone. The next afternoon, Malik confronted Sophia at the cafe again. His voice was sharper now, hardened by humiliation. You said you had my back, but all you've done is hesitate. Sophia flinched. You don't understand. He'll ruin me. Malik leaned forward, eyes burning. He'd already ruined me. My name's dirt on every screen in this city. You think your fear is bigger than mine. You get to hide in mansions. I get spit on in the street. Sophia's eyes brimmed with tears. I'm sorry. Malik shook his head. Sorry doesn't change the fact that every day you wait, he gets stronger, and I get smaller. He stood to leave. If you're not gonna act, then stay out of my way. Sophia reached for him. Malik Buffy was already gone, his shoulders rigid, his steps heavy. That night, Malik lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The sound of distant sirens drifted through the window. He thought of Charles's smirk, of the crowd clapping at his lies, of Sophia's trembling hands and broken promises. The world was tilting against him, and silence was starting to look like surrender. For days, Malik carried himself like a ghost. He walked the halls of school with his head low, ignoring whispers. He worked late at the corner store, stacking crates, trying to outrun the sting of betrayal. But everywhere he turned, Charles Whitmore's face followed him, on billboards, on TV screens in barber shops, on the scrolling feed of his phone. Charles had become the hero of his own survival. Malik had become the villain of his own story. Until one night, Angela sat across from him at their chipped kitchen table, her eyes steady, her voice soft but fierce. Malik, baby, you can't keep letting him write your silence. You've saved his life. That's truth. But the truth don't scream for you. You gotta scream for it. Malik looked down at his hands, scarred, rough from work, still carrying faint marks from pulling metal open that night. What if nobody listens? He whispered. Angela leaned closer. Then you scream louder. The next morning, Malik made his decision. He texted Jamal, I'm doing it. Jamal's reply came instantly. About damn time. By the end of the week, word spread across the neighborhood. Flyers went up. Press conference. Truth from the Bronx. Jamal hustled through every corner store, barber, and church, urging folks to show up. On the day itself, Malik stood outside the community center, heart pounding as reporters set up cameras. Some of them looked bored, skeptical. A few sneered outright. One muttered under his breath, kids chasing clout. Jamal squeezed Malik's shoulder. Don't let M see fear. Let M hear fire. Angela stood beside him, head high, her presence steady as a wall. Malik stepped up to the microphone. His voice trembled at first, but he forced it steady. My name is Malik Johnson. I'm 16 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I pulled Charles Whitmore out of his burning car. The reporters scribbled, some rolling their eyes. Since then, Malik continued, I've been called a liar, a thug, attention-seeking. I've been erased from the story of my own actions, but I'm standing here today because silence is a slow death. and I refuse to die quietly. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Malik's chest tightened, but he pressed on. That night, I didn't think about race or money. I saw a man trapped in fire, and I chose to save him. And how did he thank me? By pretending I never existed, by spitting on me in private and smiling for the cameras in public, by calling the words he used, you people. The reporters stirred, pens scratching faster. A few cameras angled closer. Angela's eyes glistened, but she nodded at her son, urging him forward. Malik's voice rose. Charles Whitmore thinks truth belongs to the powerful. He thinks microphones make lies real, but truth belongs to the people who live it, and I lived it that night. You all need to know who he really is. Suddenly, movement rippled at the edge of the crowd. A car door slammed. Heads turned. Sophia Whitmore stepped forward, hood pulled low. For a moment, Malik's breath caught, anger flashing at the memory of her hesitation. She walked to the microphones, her voice shaky but clear. He's telling the truth, and I have proof. Gasps filled the air. Reporters surged forward. Sophia pulled out her phone, hands trembling. She hit play. Charles's voice filled the speakers, cold and arrogant. Truth is whatever the man with the microphone says it is, and I own the microphones. The words echoed across the community center steps. Then the other part, sharper, crueler. You're a lucky boy. Statistically, you were more likely to carjack me than save me. The crowd erupted, gasps, shouts, outrage. Reporters scrambled to stream the audio live. Phones went up, recording everything. Malik stood frozen, the weight of vindication crashing over him like a wave. Sophia turned to him, eyes wide with apology. I should have done it sooner. I'm sorry. For a moment, Malik wanted to push her away, but then he looked at the cameras, the crowd, his mother's tearful face. He stepped back to the microphone. You all heard it. This isn't about one boy from the Bronx. This is about power, about a man who thinks he can twist reality because of the money in his pockets. But fire don't care about money. And lies burn, too. The crowd roared, a swell of anger and energy. Reporters shouted questions. Malik, what do you want now? What should happen to Charles Whitmore? Do you see yourself as a victim? Malik raised a hand. The noise dimmed. Want pity? I don't want money. I want justice. And justice starts with truth. You can't erase me anymore. I'm here. And I'm not afraid of fire. The crowd erupted again, louder this time, not whispers, not doubt, but cheers. By that night, the video was everywhere. Clips of Malik's speech flooded social media. The audio of Whitmore's words replayed on every channel, every talk show. Hashtags trended worldwide. Whitmore exposed. Hashtag truth from the Bronx. Hashtag you can't erase me. For the first time, the narrative slipped out of Charles Whitmore's control. And, for the first time, Malik felt the weight on his chest lift. Not gone, but lighter. The boy who saved a billionaire was no longer invisible. He was undeniable. Charles Whitmore's mansion was a fortress, but even fortresses cracked when fire reached the gates. 3 days after Malik's press conference, protesters gathered outside his estate, their chants carried through the iron gates. You can't erase the truth. Justice for Malik. No more lies. Media vans lined the road. Helicopters hovered overhead. Charles watched from his study, curtains drawn, face pale with fury. His phone buzzed non-stop. Board members, donors, political allies, one by one, they withdrew support. Too toxic, Charles. You've become a liability. We can't afford to be tied to you. He slammed the phone down, brandy sloshing from his glass. How dare they, he snarled. I built this empire. They owe me. Down in the city, Malik watched the coverage from his living room. His mother's arm was wrapped around him. Jamal perched on the edge of the couch, eyes wide. Yo, they really out there at his gate. Jamal whispered, man's getting cooked. Angela shook her head slowly. That's what happens when truth catches up to a lie. It don't knock first. It breaks the door down. Malik said nothing, but his hands tightened into fists. The next day, Charles tried to fight back. He appeared on a news broadcast, sitting stiff in his suit, a rehearsed smile plastered across his face. This so-called recording, he said smoothly, is manipulated, taken out of context, clearly, an attempt to defame me. But the anchor leaned forward, eyes sharp. Then, how do you explain the racial slurs, Mr. Whitmore, the threats against a 16-year-old boy? Charles's smile faltered. I never meant. The clip went viral within minutes. His stammer became a meme. His denials, shredded. Sophia sat on the edge of her bed, phone buzzing with messages. Some praised her bravery. Others spat venom, calling her a traitor to her family. But as she watched her father unravel on screen, she whispered to herself, it was worth it. She scrolled to a message from Malik. Just 2 words. Thank you. Her eyes filled with tears. By the weekend, Charles Whitmore's empire collapsed. Investors pulled out of his projects. Politicians returned his donations. His charity board forced him to resign. Even his own security staff abandoned him. Paparazzi swarmed as he left his office for the last time, shoving microphones in his face. Mr. Whitmore, do you have anything to say to Malik Johnson? Do you regret your comments? Are you finished in business? Charles shoved past them, face red, sweat glistening under the cameras. He looked less like a titan and more like a man cornered. Meanwhile, my world shifted to Dot walking down the street. Strangers nodded at him. A woman pressed his hand and whispered, "Thank you for speaking." Kids pointed, wide-eyed, whispering his name like he was a superhero. But Malik didn't feel like a hero. He felt seen. For the first time, truly seen. At school, the whispers were different now. Not mockery, but awe. Some kids tried to sidle up, claiming they'd believed him all along. Malik ignored them. He sat at lunch with Jamal, who grinned. "Brr, you're trending harder than rappers right now. You realize that?" Malik smirked faintly. "Doesn't feel real." Angela, overhearing, placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It's real, baby, and it's bigger than you. You stood up not just for yourself, but for every voice they tried to silence." That night, Malik stood on the rooftop of his building, looking out over the city lights. The air smelled of rain. He thought about fire, how it had nearly consumed them both, how it revealed truth in the end. His phone buzzed with a notification. Breaking news: Charles Whitmore indicted on charges of fraud, tax evasion, and public corruption. Malik exhaled slowly. Jamal, climbing up behind him, let out a low whistle. "Man's going down for real." Malik nodded. "Guess you can't buy your way out forever." Jamal looked at him sideways. "You good?" Malik turned. The city lights reflected in his eyes. "I'm good. For the first time in a long time, I'm good." Somewhere, miles away in his mansion stripped of allies, Charles Whitmore sat alone in the dark. The microphones were gone. The cameras turned hostile. The world no longer bent to his voice. And in the silence, the truth he'd tried so hard to bury roared louder than fire. Autumn settled over the Bronx, painting the trees in burnt orange and deep red. The air carried the smell of roasted chestnuts from street vendors and the faint hum of subway trains below. Malik walked slowly down the familiar block toward his apartment, hands shoved into his jacket pockets. Kids played basketball in the cracked court nearby, their laughter echoing. For once, no one pointed at him in suspicion. No one whispered. Some called him a hero, others called him a symbol. But Malik just felt like Malik, a boy who had run toward fire and found himself burned, then reborn. At school, teachers spoke differently now. They asked his opinion in class. His principal invited him to speak at assembly. Universities sent letters hinting at scholarships. But Malik hadn't changed. Not really. He still helped Angela fold laundry in their tiny living room. He still cracked jokes with Jamal while walking home from school. He still dreamed of something bigger, though now he believed it was possible. One afternoon, Angela sat across from him at the kitchen table, her eyes shining. "You know, baby," she said, "God don't always choose the loudest or the richest to tell the truth. Sometimes he chooses the ones nobody sees, until the moment comes." Malik looked at her, voice quiet. "You think that was me?" Angela reached across, holding his hand. "I know it was." Meanwhile, miles away, Charles Whitmore faced a courtroom instead of a boardroom. The cameras he once owned now hunted him. Journalists chronicled every stumble, every shake of his hands. Protesters lined the courthouse steps, chanting the same words Malik had spoken. "You can't erase me." Sophia watched the trial from afar, living in a small apartment away from her family's shadow. She scrolled through her phone, stopping at a picture of Malik on stage at a youth rally. Her lips curved into a sad smile. She whispered, "You did what I couldn't, Malik. You stood tall." On the anniversary of the fire, the community center invited Malik to speak again. The hall was packed: neighbors, activists, students, even reporters. Angela sat in the front row, pride radiating from her. Jamal hovered by the stage, grinning like always. Malik stepped to the microphone. This time, his voice didn't tremble. Last year, I was invisible. I saved a man's life, and the world tried to erase me. But the thing about truth is, it's patient. It waits, and when it comes, it burns brighter than any lie. The crowd murmured in agreement, nodding, clapping softly. Malik continued, his eyes steady. This isn't about one billionaire or one boy. It's about systems that silence voices like mine every day. But I'm here to tell you, we're louder than silence, we're stronger than fire, and we will not be erased. The applause thundered. Angela wiped her eyes. Jamal pumped his fist in the air. Sophia, watching the live stream from her small apartment, whispered, yes. That night, Malik stood once more on his rooftop, gazing at the skyline. The city stretched endlessly, alive with lights. For the first time, he didn't feel like he was standing beneath it. He felt like he was part of it. A boy who had saved a life. A boy who had refused erasure. A boy who carried fire in his voice. The world had tried to erase him, but instead, it had written his name in history. And somewhere in the silence of his fallen empire, Charles Whitmore finally understood. The boy he tried to erase had become the truth he could never silence. That was justice. That was poetry.